Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel, and I'm super excited. Today we are going to compare all the three search engines that the whole internet is divided on, which one actually is better and is Google done for. So let's get started. Without further ado, I'm going to start with simple queries. I'm trying to search for a resource called AZ16 AI Canon, right? And if you see, I've already searched them a couple of times in Google, but let's see how it actually shows up for others, right? So very simply, what I'm literally looking for is the A16 Canon. Like, this is the link that I was looking for. It's one of the resources that Anderson Horowitz have for everyone to learn about AI, and it's pretty good. So if you see, we get the link here exactly, but if you look at the query, that result that we got from Perplexity, it's extremely wrong, right? Like, it's nowhere close to it. It's just iPhone 16 series and something else. ChatGPT does a fairly good job, so maybe like, again, Anderson Horowitz gets like another link there, so it's okay. So it's not super great like what it should be. It is giving a couple of options, and I can probably click on this link and get there. So I'll say, like, I would technically rate them equally on this sense. Awesome. So from a comparison perspective, I have to give ChatGPT the same amount of marks as I'm giving to Google, because very simply Google knows a lot about my history and it already knows what I'm searching for, right? So let's come back to ChatGPT, and then I want to, again, I like this stuff, we'll come to that, but let's come and ask about something that I technically tend to do a lot of times, and it's simply USD to GBP conversion or USD to INR and everything and all of that. So every time I search about it, I have to do like an exchange, and I love this feature from Google, which is like, you can just use it here itself. So if I want to convert $100, I know exactly how much it is in pounds, right? The same thing does not exist in the exact format, right? So for example, obviously I can go ahead and ask here how much is 100 USD in GBP, right? And I can ask that here, and it will obviously respond in the right format, right? So it's 77.4 and everything else, right? But the point is, again, if you're looking to do a search and get the result, you don't want to do multiple searches. And that's why I'm testing this as one query, because that's how most people are searching today, unless you are doing research and everything else. And that's a completely separate topic, right? So from, again, same perspective, I would say, again, like, maybe we can give half marks to both of them because they did give the result, but Google still scores a good answer here. So 0.5 and 0.5, right? So again, USD to GBP, and that's the score going on. Awesome. Let's go to the next one, and I have to switch on search, and then again go to Google, click on new search, and let's go to the next query, which I believe is something that I want to get to the result of OpenAI's form. So what is it and everything? I'm looking at, like, what kind of results I get, because this is something educational, right? So I want to see how does this work. Okay, first of all, awesome. I technically believe, obviously, on this, Perplexity and ChatGPT take away the results 110% better, right? They, like, first of all, I get much better queries, right? I don't want to look at YouTube videos right now. I want to just check what this form is, right? So there is no, even the labs preview search lab is not coming up, right? Because it's such an on and off, right? So that's not coming. And I believe, like, in this result, 110%, 1000%, like, Google loses completely. Okay, so okay, just to be fair on the scoring part, I do believe, like, just from the quality of answers perspective, and given that Perplexity is also giving videos, I would like to give it a bit more mark. So again, I'm giving it both 1, so I'll just probably like do the 0.75, and I want to, like, just to increase this, I'll just give 1 to Perplexity and keep it same, just from like a quality of response perspective, right? Again, Google loses the battle here completely. Let's come to the next thing, and this is going to be like super interesting. I want to actually test on what, like, real life things that I use at. Okay, I'm not always randomly searching. I want to travel flight tickets from Delhi to Bangalore, and let's search that, right? Because Google has a great option to do that. I want to see how does that same thing look here also. So let's go 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so very simply, okay, first of all, like, you see this, like, from a Google's perspective, that you are able to see the responses right away, right there and then. On the left hand side and on the right hand side, I think it is trying to, like, put summary of a flight options, right? Are calling various price points and everything, price starting from 6800 and everything and else. But Google Flights is directly integrated in the search engine, right? And you can't kind of like beat that, right? So again, let's see, if I ask you the follow-up question, give me the cheapest flight for tomorrow. Okay, and if the point is, again, I want to test them in the right way, as like, given they are a bit better than, like, just a search engine, right? So if I can they find that? Okay, Indigo Airlines has the flight one-way flight priced at 4798, right? And I want to test this if the result is actually true. And Perplexity is saying that it's around 6,000 Delhi to Bangalore for tomorrow. I want to really just check this out. So today is roughly 3rd. I want to see Delhi to Bangalore. What does the flight look like? I'm just going to expand this and show you guys this so I can also see. Show flights, and I want to see for 4th November. Okay, just to test the result. Okay, so the cheapest flight is around 9,400, right? I'm pretty sure we can look at a couple of things and we'll come back to the same result, but it's 9,400. So the answer wise, neither of them did really well. They just took like what's available on search engine, which is a lot of ads and everything, right? And not what the real answer is. So again, from a perspective, if I'm doing any kind of travel bookings, I have to go back to Google and compare stuff there itself. Okay, so let's come back to travel. Flight tickets, 110%. I don't think I want to give any marks here, so I'm just going to give that. I know it looks like an unfair comparison given that they are very different things, but I'm looking at very simply, can you replace Google right now from a search engine perspective? And that's what we are looking at. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Okay, and this is probably a bit more up the sleeve for AI. I want to see an itinerary for Bangalore for a 2-day stay, and let's see how does that look like. Okay, now first of all, I get a search labs overview in Google, but 110% I'm expecting Perplexity and ChatGPT will do 110% better here because they have to, right? Because it's a very itinerary, it's a very ChatGPT style question or like an AI question. It's not a query. But if you look at this, this is not great, right? Now, Google is not doing a great job here. It should look like something on the left and right. It should also show the same. If you again see Perplexity, they have done, we're not going to compare the itineraries on which is good and everything. We're just looking at from search engine perspective, it has done a pretty good job at what we want to do, right? Let's try the next thing also, but I want to give it an score. Itinerary Bangalore, and I'm just going to shorthand that 1. Google goes 0, Perplexity 1. Okay, awesome, perfect. Then let's go to the next step. I want to see how does it perform on something similar, and can it actually beat Google in this. Best restaurants in Bangalore, right? And I want to test 2 versions of this query on how does it look. So let's start, enter. First of all, I think speed wise, all of them are super good. Obviously, like ChatGPT takes a couple of seconds more, but then it's fine. So from just the best thing that about Google is that it's all built in, but I want to see actually what the responses look like. Is it similar, and how is the responses coming for ChatGPT, and what are their sources? So I wrote Bangalore, right? And okay, Japanese Shiro, Lotus Pavilion in Karavali, and casual dining, and then all of those things. So again, I would say, just from a perspective of how I like to look at content, I would prefer ChatGPT 110% here. Very simply because, again, Google is great, and I have to give obviously you can click and you can see. But again, if I'm looking for a real answer, ChatGPT does this extremely better. I don't want to know just the pricing and the address and everything else. I want to actually look at, okay, what is this about? So it's a Japanese and everything. Again, they have tried to do that cuisine wise and everything, but I would like a description. I'm thinking from a search engine perspective, I want to just look at stuff. I don't want to okay, this is the cuisine and everything. It's a very structured response. This looks like much more like a natural response from GPT. Okay, so I would give it very simply, ChatGPT wins this one. I would just probably given that they both responded, but Google also is not doing a great job, and I did not like the Perplexity one, so I'm just going to give it 0. Okay, so ChatGPT wins this one, 0, 0, 0. And let's come back for the next thing that I want to try on this. I want to try something, same query, right? I just want to try this in Bangalore for a budget, right? And that's what I want to see if how does that come to compared to anything else, right? So, and let's see, because the point is under budget, it should be I want to see what kind of restaurants it actually recommends, and what does it is setting the bar to the budget be like. Okay, so honestly, if again this might be controversial, so I'll just say very simply, I think AI does a 110% better job on this, on the budget part of things, right? So because the point is it has gone extreme, anything that budget wise it's 100 $150 So that's like $2 to $3 between that. And all the other things that are mentioned on Google are great, but they're not cheap, right? They're not like, you can't have a decent meal for 200, $300. You'll have to order at least like somewhere around $10, $12 there. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. So from a response perspective, 110% AI wins this. So if I had to give like, just based on the same query, I don't want to do like another comparison metric on that. But I would just say like, ChatGPT obviously gets 1, but also Perplexity gets like a 0.25 points on this, because it just gave the first answer right. Okay, so or we're just going to create another one. So budget restaurants, I'll just give it 1, 0 and 1 here again. Okay, just to keep it simple from a scoring perspective. Awesome. Let's come back to the next thing. Okay, now a lot of people use search engines to shop for stuff, and I've been looking for a wireless keyboard, and I want to see actually how does it do on pricing, right? So best wireless keyboard under 1,000 rupees, how much does what kind of like results I'm getting, right? So I just want to see like what kind of like quality of results, because I have done some research on this, on the kind of keyboard that I can get. But the first thing is like, very simply, you have to see is like Google has just started ranking Reddit at the top, because they have figured out like, there's nothing better than sources at Reddit to get the content. And if I just have to see like Logitech K20 as the first result on Reddit, it's pretty good. They have recommended a lot of Logitech stuff, right? And I do believe like, one of like decent devices under that budget, if you want a good quality brand, Logitech is pretty good, right? But if I had to be honest, I really like the results on the right from Perplexity, because it gives me a comparison video also, which I can simply go ahead and click. I don't have to go ahead to Google and then search and everything. I don't even have to navigate here. Obviously, like one thing that you see on top of it, like Google is just trying to push a lot of products, right? Even that Logitech is listed at the top, so I will not give it like complete negative on that. But very simply, there are a lot of devices, like a lot of these companies are just pushing these products from an advertisement perspective. So if you want like a non-advertised and real answers from shopping, 110% Perplexity wins this, but I'll also have to give ChatGPT some marks on that, right? So let's score them. And so very simply, we are going to say shopping keyboard, right? And if I go ahead, I want to give ChatGPT very simply like a complete, like I don't want to give like on a score of under 1, I would say just 1. If I want to see like the links, right? So it's not a shopping link, right? And that's probably like a bit of my pet peeve. Can I click here and shop for it? Okay, from different, again, not shopping, these are like comparison websites and then YouTube and everything. So one way, like again, I'll have to go ahead and search this. I'm just like being a bit more, but very simply, I'll just give them like both. I'll say like it's not the perfect response that I would like, and I'll probably give like 0.5 to Google, because it gives you some response, right? But obviously ChatGPT and Perplexity perform better on this comparatively well, right? Okay, awesome. Just let's go to the next thing that we are going to try. Okay, awesome. So now I'm going to try something similar, but from an electronics perspective, just based on see how the responses look like. So phone under 30,000, because that's what like India buys a lot of budget phones across, and I want to see how does that actually respond. So if someone has to use it, what do you get? Okay, just off the top of the bat, like I think like OnePlus 11R is listed here, and then you have OnePlus Nord, and then you have like again a lot of different kind of brands listed on the right on Perplexity. I was really looking for like obviously OnePlus is like one of like good budget brands in India to choose from, but just from perspective of usage or like even like buying probability, again similar kind of results. I obviously again prefer the Perplexity result better, just based on the comparison videos, because like India like has like a huge, everyone will go ahead research on YouTube and then come back and buy stuff, right? And then what Google is doing here, again I think like I don't know if it's listening to us, it could be. Let's just push the ads down, or is that just like because I've like very simply yeah, it's pushed down the ads there. And then on the top you have like best smartphones under 30,000, and you can see them, but none of them result to 30,000 after like the first thing is ad, because I'm on Amazon. So 25, 26, again decently done, right? I would say suggest, because they have been doing shopping for a long time. Like that's one of the biggest use cases of Google in India. Like people use it to like obviously like to shop directly, and Google has been pushing shopping a lot. So from that perspective, I would say again, like I don't want to compare it separately. I just want to test this query and show it to you guys. How does that look for phones and keyboard and separately? We're just going to keep the same score, and we're just going to keep it to shopping overall, because I don't think like there's a huge difference. Just that Google is not great also at shopping from a phone's perspective. Obviously you have these links here, but then I don't have the reviews. I don't have like more details that I would like in an AI first world. Like I would like okay, why you should buy this, or some more comparison or something else. And I can probably do that here, right? Like if say I want something for as a student, right? I can do that here. I can't do that on Google right now, like unless there's a search overview and I go ahead and try Gemini. And I don't want to try that because we are using the search models here, right? And so if I want something as a student, honestly, like, I prefer ChatGPT's response here so much better because at least it increased, like, it gave it a bit more details. Here, I don't think, like, I have got like a one-liner. Just from a response perspective, GPT wins here 110%, like, without a doubt. Okay, so, okay, perfect, then works. I'll probably like keep the score same because it could be a pet peeve. And let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so I don't know what I'm expecting here. New Zealand versus India was something that recently happened a lot in the world, and like, and everyone is like talking about that in India. And I want to see scores and stuff from everything else. First of all, I should not be seeing that New Zealand won, and I'm getting like, I don't know, like congratulatory messages because we lost. But very simply, from a results perspective, yes, Google does a great job about like, this particular scorecard and stuff and everything, and that does not exist from a UI perspective. I think like, ChatGPT was going for something here. I want to probably like, redo this query with search switched on. It did search automatically. But till then, like, I love the scorecard feature in Google, like it's obviously better. But from a news perspective, like very simply, like, I have to go ahead and read the scorecard. This looks better. Perplexity looks super better. Key performances and implications, like, huge. Like, again, I just prefer from search quality, if I'm not looking at just a scorecard thing, right? I would prefer the AI responses better. Like, that's just me. Okay, like from a scorecard perspective, yes, I would have loved the scorecard widget here, but then again, we have to judge a tool for what it is today compared to like Google running this for like, again, years and years and trying to improve on those results. So I would say like, I want to give them equal marks on this, but very simply, I'm going to give like 0.25 better to all our AI engines, right? So 0.75, right, 0.5, 0.75. None of them are perfect because I would prefer like, if they add the scorecard widget on either of them, it's just a perfect result, right? So click at, okay, and then I want to see how does it perform on why did India lose against NZ, and I'm not going to improve my spellings. I just want to see how it does, and that perfect. I want to select new and just go ahead and search the internet. So first of all, I think Google is just super fast, but let's see. Again, like you just see the quality of responses, how much it differs, right? Like GPT and Perplexity are just 10 times better. I don't want like a news quotation from like, just quoting it. I want a better result. Like, where is the AI overview? Why is it not coming up automatically? Why is it like such a hit and a miss? And even if an AI overview is coming, why is it not always there? So obviously, this is what I want to like. I'm not an expert. I don't want to open another link and go ahead and read that article and then come to my own thing, right? But very simple. And like, why is it coming from an article about reactions perspective? Okay, it might be the same sources here also, but very simply, like, this looks like a result that I would like to read, right? From a perspective of just a user trying to just know why did India lose against New Zealand. Okay, so again, 110%. This is like simple cricket commentary, and we can probably like just put the scores, but Google goes zero here, like simply like ChatGPT 1 and togetherly perfect. Now, one last thing on where Google actually excels, but I think Perplexity has been talking about this for an extremely long time, right? I want to see how does the results part of election 2024 results look like. So this is what I'm getting right now, right? So if I click on Perplexity's view election, right, I can actually see like a ballot and a bit more details, but Google even does not show up that, given that it's so important, like this is probably one of like the elections of the centuries or whatever. But very simply, like, just to do that, I like, just to see more details on this. So if I can see this, I can see these cards coming up right now. I know everything is going to get populated once we start getting the results and everything, but just from perspective wise, this is just better. And given that, like, this is like a trend thing, Perplexity is actually taking in the feedback from the world and building their results accordingly. They're trying to be that search engine. I will not expect the same from GPT because again, they're just not investing that much on that. But very simply, like, for the most complete information and everything, visit this or XYZ and all of that. But this is pretty good, right? Perplexity wins there. I would have preferred to see like a map here, which will show up 110% on, like, if I put Lok Sabha elections, you will see that map coming in. Okay, overview and dates and everything. Like, you will start seeing that. There used to be something here, but like very simply, like, it shows up a widget. It's not showing up right now as a widget, but very simply Perplexity wins this. So from a just like a perspective of using what is available and building the solutions for that right away, what users want to, I would give 110% Perplexity quick marks on that. Like very simply, like, user experience, because again, I don't want to say like, it's simply 0, 0 and 1 for Perplexity. Okay, we are in the last of it. Like literally, like this is going to be like a super interesting one. So I want to check what it takes to find resources, right? So if I want to find best no code website builder using AI, I want to see what does the results look like, because this is something that people always keep looking at, right? What is the, like, every company is trying to improve their results and everything. Okay, finally, Search Labs coming up. Okay, so okay, Wix, Hostinger, Jundo, Framer, Dorek, Dora AI, and Rainforest AI Builder, and let's see what it has. Key points about Wix AI feature. Now, first of all, why is Wix at the top? You are saying, okay, best no-code AI result. If Wix is better, why not about the same kind of, like, detailing for everything else? Because the point is, what, Wix is the best because it is just at the top. That's it, and that's stupid. And probably, like, it's probably referencing a couple of things. But the one thing that everyone hates about Google is that it just puts the top results to be like, ads driven or anything. And again, here is also the same thing. Wix is there, but just this feels like, more advertised to me rather than like, made for me. So again, from a result wise, they're more or less same. And again, you can test that. I'll prefer Framer a lot, like just because of my ease of use on that. But very simply, like, decent results. I'll not say super great, but Google, just from a perspective that it's the top result and that's why it's here, I would just like, probably like, if I want to do it shorter, like, simpler, or like I want to select more advanced, let me just see what it shows up to, right? So update, and let's see what like the results come out to. Okay, it can't be inaccurate or something, or initial draft or whatever. Okay, perfectly, like, again, okay. So I'll say from a resource comparison, I want to do one more search, so to just like, give a proper judgment on this. Let's start again, go to Google, and I'm doing new queries because that's how you are like trying to search, and you're like just inputting a search thing there. So I just want to like find a new resource by a domain name. I want to see what does it come to. I want to get a website, and I also want to get the steps on buying a domain name. Okay, GoDaddy. Again, GoDaddy will, like, it's pretty big in India, so from like an India perspective, I get it. I'm like probably like they have my location and everything. But you know what? This is just better. Like, first of all, like I would choose like something like this, a result wise, which AI should have come up and said, okay, here's how you can buy the domain name. GoDaddy is the best domain name hosted for India and XYZ, and you can see that. This is just like, Google, come on, you need to pick up your game a lot. This does not work for me, right? I would obviously prefer like, on the left hand, right? Given that I still know how to buy a domain, but if someone is trying to do this for the first time, they get the instructions right there and just get what they want. So resource perspective, I have to give like probably like I'll give Google maybe like half marks just for the sake, but let's just see what the final results come up to. Okay, so the verdicts are in, and you will be shocked at the results. At least I was not expecting this while going inside the video that this is going to be the result. But very simply, the total scores are 8.5 for ChatGPT. Google is on 4.5 and 7.75 for Perplexity. We did around like 12 queries roughly, like we make some of them, but it's like a decently much better result compared to anything else. Obviously, like you can see flight tickets is like a no-brainer. Google wins there because they have invested a lot in getting those things together, right? And then if you see like everywhere else, like maybe UX wise Perplexity wins in some things, and like that might change or here and there, but it just matters. Like Google is losing the game a lot. Just see the amount of times I've given it 0. Like it's probably like things which are just they have built like as widgets, which is probably the one thing that ChatGPT and Perplexity have to build in, like a currency converter or anything else that people can get quickly to. Everything else is just not there. Like everything else is just not there. People are not like happy. I'm not happy with the results that I was getting. So again, 110%, Google needs to up their game, and you can see how this relates to your work also. Test a couple of queries and choose a better search engine for yourself. And right now, given that Perplexity is free, and literally I'm on a free version for Perplexity, that's crazy good. Like it's literally free. If we move to a pro version or something else, I'm pretty sure the results actually get better. I've tried a trial, it's much better just from research and everything else. But I would suggest Google needs to pick up their game, and all of you need to pick up just the subscribe button. Click the subscribe button, please. It creates a lot of time to create these videos. It would help me a lot. But thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was super interesting to create. Please like, share, and subscribe, and it will help me out a lot. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.